Good morning. So we did a video yesterday, a video that touched on mental health. And as I thought it would, kind of got mixed reviews. There's the people who don't watch an entire video and they look at a title or they skim through it and feel the need to comment about how what we're trying to do is excuse what Bryan Kohberger potentially done, and that's specifically stated in the video. That's not the purpose of it. The purpose of that video is to give people an insight into the mind and how the mind and mental health can have an impact on society, on what people do. And as much as people want to stick their head in the sand and ignore it, it's a very, very real situation. In that video, I spoke on my own experiences with a parent who suffered from paranoid schizophrenia. Now, I left an important detail out of that story, and I did it on purpose because I kind of preempted some of the comments. And some of the comments were surrounding Bryan. And look, let's just reel it in a second and say, look, until he is proven guilty, he is indeed innocent in the eyes of the law. So this, what we speak of, is based on the fact that he has been arrested, he is prime suspect, and everybody believes that he is most likely the person who did it. So we're speaking in that context, and it may very well turn out that there is a completely different story, but we have to look at it like, at the moment, it would appear that Bryan Kohberger did this. So look, people turn around and said, look, he planned this. He planned it. Now, with regards to mental health, this is about people who explode. You know, they can decide on what to do. And this guy decided to do what he did. He decided to take a life, and he could have decided to get help. People have mental health issues, and they do not just go around killing people. And I think someone commented and said you have to make it clear to people that, you know, this is the case. And, you know, and the section that I left out, the part of my story that I left out was about a situation. It was around, I was 17 years old, and me and a friend was in a bedroom and we was doing weights. I've done weightlifting for many years. And one of the weights had rolled in front of the bedroom door and it had, in effect, pinned the door shut. And my mum had tried to get in the bedroom. She had asked us if we wanted food. We had said yes. She'd offered to make us some food. She came upstairs to bring us that food. She went to open the door and couldn't open the door. That situation ended up with my mother stabbing me, because she felt that we was in the bedroom and we was doing something to plot against her. And that scenario would end with me subsequently moving out of home at 17 years old and moving in with my friend's family who I was with at the time of the incident. So it's not quite as simple as a lot of people think. Now, people have their thoughts and feelings on subjects, but unless you've lived it, unless you've been boots on the ground, you rarely likely don't understand it. And if Bryan Kohberger is indeed guilty, he is the man. They've got him. You have to look at it like this. People say that he planned this. He planned it out meticulously. That's what some of the comments said, his meticulous planning. And in reality, is that the case? His meticulous planning. He was a PhD student. He studied criminology. We've learned recently that he was specifically looking at DNA. Yet he drives his own car to a house, enters it. He leaves his DNA. He leaves an eyewitness. He leaves the sheath of the weapon. He takes his phone with him. And for me, I think to myself, is that meticulous planning? Is it? Now, I don't know how he picked his victims. I think that's a very important factor in all this. And at the end of the day, part of that process means motive and opportunity. We know he had the means. We know he had the opportunity. We don't know how he realised that he had the opportunity on that exact night and that exact time. And some of that would have been planned, perhaps. The 12 trips to Moscow on the leading up to it. Perhaps that's what people hear and they think that that's part of his meticulous planning. But we don't know why he visited the 12 times previous to that. And there will be speculation on other things. Perhaps he was turning up there for some other reason. Perhaps he was struggling with it. Perhaps he had gone there 12 times previously to do it and couldn't. Perhaps he was visiting to obtain something else from the area. And this one time he couldn't get what he wanted. Who knows? And that's another rabbit hole to go down. But I do not believe that this crime was a crime of meticulous planning. He failed in the nuts and bolts of how to do a crime. That's not meticulous planning. Especially not the meticulous planning of an intelligent mind. But we can argue this all day long, and there'll be some people who agree, there'll be some people who disagree, and I get that. We're not all the same. But what I'm saying is, because I've lived this situation, I have lived a situation where I've seen what mental health can do. I can't simply see it as black and white the way that some people do. And this isn't about, like some of you have said, about trying to excuse what he does, because there is no excuse for what he's done. And people turn around and say he could have sought help. What help? The question there is, does the help exist? Does it exist for people? Does the understanding of it exist? It doesn't even exist in the comment section here, for the most part. There's some people who get it, but the vast majority don't. So, and as a society, we need to get better. You can't simply paint everything as black and white. You can't tell people who have serious mental health issues that it's their responsibility to get help. Or like they did with my mum, sort it out. Don't be silly. Pull yourself together. It's your responsibility to get help. We know how that ended in my story. And that's what's being told to people. Mental health is a serious, serious problem. Doesn't excuse the catastrophic damage that it causes when it goes wrong. It doesn't. But it does mean that there's a bigger picture in these situations, and one that can't simply just keep getting swept under the rug. It needs to be addressed. Something needs to be done. We need to do better at understanding the why. What do they say? Prevention is better than cure. But in practice, that doesn't seem to be the way that people want to deal with things. In many walks of life, business, governments, it's not about prevention. It's about saving money, retaining money, ignoring it until the shit hits the fan, and then trying to deal with it afterwards. And where possible, cover it up so people don't realise how much of a fuck up it really was. So let me know where you are in this now. Even if Bryan Kohberger was affected from a mental health perspective and you feel that it was his responsibility to go and get help, be honest. Be very honest. Do you actually think that the help would have been there for him? Let me know down below, and I'll catch you all in the next one.